Jake Thompson wiped the grease from his hands with an old rag and looked at the clock on the garage wall. 6:30 in the evening. He had spent the last 12 hours rebuilding the engine of Mrs. Peterson's old Ford pickup truck. The job was finally done. His stomach growled loudly. Jake had not eaten anything since his morning coffee and a stale donut. He was tired, hungry, and ready for a good meal. There was only one place he wanted to go tonight. Billy's barbecue pit served the best brisket in all of Texas, maybe in the whole world. Jake locked up his small auto repair shop and walked to his own pickup truck. It was an old blue Chevy that had seen better days, but it ran perfectly. He had made sure of that. The truck started with a satisfying rumble. Jake rolled down the windows and drove through the quiet streets of Cedar Falls. Cedar Falls was not a big town. Everyone knew everyone else. Jake had lived there his whole life. He liked it that way. No big city problems, no traffic jams, just honest people doing honest work. Jake fixed their cars and trucks, and they paid him fair wages. It was a simple life, and Jake was happy with it. The drive to Billy's took only 10 minutes. Jake could smell the barbecue smoke before he even parked his truck. His mouth watered. He had been thinking about Billy's famous brisket sandwich all day. Maybe he would get some ribs, too. And definitely some of that cornbread with honey butter. Billy's barbecue pit was busy as always. Jake found a parking spot near the back of the lot, close to the woods that surrounded the restaurant. He walked inside and breathed in the wonderful smell of smoked meat. The place was warm and cozy with red checkered tablecloths and old country music playing softly. Jake ordered his usual: brisket sandwich, beef ribs, cornbread, and a large sweet tea. He sat at his favorite table by the window and watched the sun set over the trees. This was exactly what he needed after a long day of work. The food arrived quickly. Jake took his first bite of the brisket sandwich and closed his eyes. Perfect. Tender meat, tangy sauce, and soft bread. He was about to take another bite when something bright flashed outside the window. Jake looked up and saw a streak of light falling from the darkening sky. It was moving fast, like a shooting star, but much bigger and brighter. The light disappeared behind the trees with a loud crash that shook the windows of the restaurant. Other people in the restaurant had seen it too. They were all talking at once. "Did you see that?" Sounded like thunder. Maybe it was a plane crash. No, planes don't look like that. Could be a meteor. Jake finished chewing his bite of sandwich and thought about what he had seen. The light had been too big for a normal meteor, and the crash had been very close, right in the woods behind the restaurant. Most people went back to their meals and conversations, but Jake kept thinking about it. He was curious by nature. When something broke, he wanted to know why. When something strange happened, he wanted to understand it. His curiosity had made him a good mechanic. It also got him into trouble sometimes. Jake ate a few more bites, but he could not stop thinking about the crash. Finally, he put down his sandwich and walked outside to his truck. He grabbed his flashlight from the glove box. The sun was almost gone now, and the woods were getting dark. Jake walked to the edge of the parking lot and looked into the trees. He could see a faint glow deeper in the woods. Smoke was rising above the treetops. Something was definitely back there. He should probably call the police or the fire department. That would be the smart thing to do. But Jake was not always smart. He was curious, and he wanted to see what had crashed in those woods. Jake turned on his flashlight and walked into the trees. The ground was soft under his work boots. Branches caught at his clothes as he pushed deeper into the woods. The glow was getting brighter. He could smell something strange, not wood smoke or burning gasoline, something different, something metallic. After walking for about 5 minutes, Jake came to a small clearing. In the center was a crater about 10 feet wide, and in the crater was something that made Jake stop and stare. It was not a meteor. It was not a plane. It was some kind of pod or capsule, about the size of a small car. The metal was unlike anything Jake had ever seen. It was silver, but also seemed to shimmer with other colors. Parts of it were glowing with a soft blue light. Steam rose from vents along its sides. Jake walked closer, his flashlight beam dancing over the strange object. There were no words or markings that he could understand. The surface was smooth except for what looked like a door or hatch on one. As Jake watched, the hatch made a soft hissing sound. It began to open slowly. Jake stepped back, his heart beating faster. What if this was some kind of weapon? What if something dangerous was inside? But his curiosity was stronger than his fear. Jake moved closer and pointed his flashlight at the opening hatch. He could see inside now. There were 2 seats or beds inside the pod, and in those seats were 2 figures. Jake's breath caught in his throat. They were not human. That much was clear right away. But they looked almost human. They were both female, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow faintly in the dark. Their hair was long and silver, like moonlight. They had pointed ears and delicate features. They were beautiful in a way that Jake had never seen before. Both figures were unconscious. One of them had what looked like blood on her forehead. The other was breathing strangely, like she was having trouble getting air. Jake stood there for a moment, not sure what to do. These were aliens, real aliens. They had crashed on Earth, and somehow he had found them. This was the kind of thing that happened in movies, not in real life. Not in Cedar Falls, Texas. But they were hurt. They needed help. And Jake Thompson had never walked away from someone who needed help. Human or not, these 2 were in trouble. Jake made his decision. He would help them. Jake looked at the 2 injured aliens and made his choice quickly. He could not leave them here to die. Whatever they were, wherever they came from, they needed help right now. The first alien was smaller than the second one. She had a cut on her forehead that was bleeding blue instead of red. The second alien was taller and seemed to be having trouble breathing. Both of them were wearing strange silver suits that looked like they were made from the same material as their ship. Jake carefully lifted the smaller alien first. She was lighter than he expected, but her skin felt warm and real, human-like but different. He carried her to his truck and laid her gently in the passenger seat. Then he went back for the second one. The taller alien was heavier, but still not too much for Jake to handle. He had carried plenty of car parts that weighed more. He placed her in the back seat of his truck and made sure both aliens were secure. Then he grabbed some equipment from their crashed pod. Strange devices that glowed softly in the dark. He figured they might be important. Jake drove carefully back to his ranch house on the edge of town. His house was small but comfortable. More importantly, it was private. His nearest neighbor was half a mile away. No one would see him bringing the aliens inside. He carried both aliens to his spare bedroom and laid them on the twin beds. Jake had no idea how to help them medically, but he did what he could. He cleaned the smaller one's wound with warm water and put a bandage on it. He checked to make sure both aliens were still breathing. Then he sat in a chair and waited. Jake did not sleep much that night. He kept checking on his strange guests every hour. By morning, they were both breathing better. The smaller one's wound had stopped bleeding. Jake made coffee and toast for himself, then wondered what aliens might eat. He decided to wait until they woke up to ask. Around 10 in the morning, Jake heard voices from the spare room. Soft voices speaking in a language he had never heard before. He knocked on the door and opened it slowly. Both aliens were awake and sitting up in bed. When they saw Jake, they stopped talking and stared at him with large, bright green eyes. Jake stared back. In the daylight, he could see them more clearly. They were definitely not human, but they were beautiful in an otherworldly way. The smaller alien spoke first. Her voice was musical and strange. "You help us?" Her English was broken but understandable. Jake nodded. "Yes. You were hurt. I brought you to my house." The taller alien looked around the room. "Where we are?" "Earth," Jake said simply. "Texas, United States. My name is Jake." The two aliens looked at each other and had a quick conversation in their own language. Then the smaller one looked back at Jake. "I am Luna. This is Stella. We are sisters." "Sisters," Jake repeated. He could see the resemblance now. They had the same eyes, the same silver hair, the same delicate features. "Are you feeling better?" Luna touched the bandage on her forehead. "You fix me." "Thank you, Jake of Earth." Stella spoke for the first time in English. "Why you help? We are not your kind." Jake sat down in the chair. "Because you needed help. That's what people do. At least that's what good people do." The sisters looked confused. Luna asked, "What people?" "Humans," Jake explained. "That's what we call ourselves. Humans. People." "Humans," Stella repeated slowly as if testing the word. "You are human. Jake human." "That's right," Jake smiled. "And you are?" "Vegans," Luna said. "From planet Vega Prime." Jake nodded. "Vegans. Okay, are you hungry? I have food." The sisters were indeed hungry. Jake made them scrambled eggs and toast, which they ate carefully. They seemed to like the food, though they ate much smaller portions than Jake expected. While they ate, Luna and Stella began to tell their story. They spoke slowly, searching for English words they had learned from studying human radio and television signals during their long journey to Earth. "Our world, gone," Stella said sadly. "War came, bad people called Draxon. They destroy everything." "We escape in ship," Luna continued. "But ship broken, we crash here." Jake felt sorry for them. They were refugees, survivors of a war that had destroyed their home. "I'm sorry about your world. That must have been terrible." "Draxon very bad," Stella explained. "They want to rule all worlds, kill anyone who fight." "Are they coming here?" Jake asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know the answer. The sisters looked at each other with worried expressions. "Maybe," Luna said quietly. "They follow us. They not give up easy." Jake felt a chill run down his spine. Alien invaders might be coming to Earth, and it was partly because he had helped these two refugees. But looking at Luna and Stella, seeing the fear in their green eyes, Jake knew he had made the right choice. "Well," Jake said, trying to sound more confident than he felt, "if they come looking for trouble, they'll find it. Humans don't like bullies much." This seemed to surprise the sisters. "You fight for us?" Stella asked. "But you not know us." "I know enough," Jake said. "You're running from bad guys who destroyed your home. That makes you the good guys in my book." Luna smiled for the first time since waking up. It was a beautiful smile. "You very strange human, Jake. Very kind." "Not strange," Jake corrected. "Just human." Over the next few hours, Jake learned more about his guests. Luna was some kind of engineer or scientist. She understood machines and technology. Stella knew about medicine and healing. They were both very smart, much smarter than Jake in many ways, but they were also lost and scared. They had traveled across the galaxy to escape a terrible war, only to crash on an unknown planet. They had no idea if any other Vegans had survived. They had no home to return to. Jake made another decision that morning. These two aliens were welcome to stay in his house as long as they needed to. He would help them fix their ship if possible. And if the Draxon came looking for them, well, Jake would deal with that problem when it happened. "You can stay here," he told them. "As long as you want. You're safe now." Luna and Stella looked at each other, then back at Jake. Stella spoke in a voice full of emotion. "Thank you, Jake Human. You save our lives." Jake shrugged. "Like I said, that's what people do. That's what humans do." He had no idea how much his simple act of kindness would change everything. For himself, for Luna and Stella, and for the entire planet Earth. For 3 days, Jake's life felt almost normal again. Luna and Stella stayed in his spare room, slowly getting stronger. Their English was improving quickly. Jake taught them about human customs while they told him stories about their home world. Vega Prime had been a beautiful planet with crystal cities and flying cars. It sounded like something from a science fiction movie. Luna was fascinated by Jake's garage. She spent hours looking at his tools and asking questions about how human machines worked. Stella preferred to help in the kitchen, though she was amazed by simple things like electric stoves and refrigerators. They were both eager to learn and very grateful for Jake's help. On the fourth morning, everything changed. Jake was having coffee on his front porch when he saw something strange in the sky. 3 dark shapes moving too fast to be airplanes. They were sleek and angular, unlike any human aircraft. They flew in perfect formation, searching the area in a grid pattern. Luna and Stella came running outside. When they saw the ships, their faces went pale with fear. "Draxon scouts," Luna whispered. "They found us." "How?" Jake asked. "Our ship," Stella explained. "Even broken, it sends signals. They track the signals to find us." Jake watched the alien ships in the distance. They were still far away, but they were getting closer. "How long do we have?" "Not long," Luna said. "They scan everything. They find us soon." Jake felt his heart racing, but his mind was clear. This was like fixing a broken engine. He needed to identify the problem and find a solution. The problem was that the alien hunters were tracking Luna and Stella. The solution was to get them somewhere safe. "We need to leave," Jake said. "Right now." The sisters shook their heads. "No use," Stella said sadly. "They follow us anywhere, and they kill anyone who help us." "Not if they can't find us," Jake replied. He was already making plans. "I know these woods and hills better than anyone. We can hide where they won't think." "To look." "You not understand," Luna said. "Draxon have better technology, better weapons. You cannot fight them." Jake smiled grimly. "Maybe not, but I don't have to fight them. I just have to outsmart them." Jake quickly loaded supplies into his truck: food, water, camping gear, and his hunting rifle. It was not much against alien technology, but it was better than nothing. Luna and Stella gathered their few belongings and the equipment they had, salvaged from their crashed ship. As they drove away from the ranch house, Jake could see the Draxon scouts getting closer. The alien ships were now clearly visible, their dark metal hulls gleaming in the morning sun. They moved like predators, searching methodically for their prey. Jake drove into the hills north of town. These were rough country roads that most people never used. He knew every trail and back road from years of hunting and camping. If anyone could hide in this wilderness, it was Jake Thompson. They reached an old mining camp that had been abandoned for decades. Jake parked his truck in a cave that had once stored mining equipment. The cave would hide the truck from aerial searches. "We stay here," Jake announced. "At least for now." Luna was working with one of her devices. It looked like a small computer, but with strange symbols instead of numbers. "I can monitor their communications," she said. "Listen to what they say." For the next few hours, they listened to the Draxon search patterns. The aliens were thorough but predictable. They searched in straight lines, covering every area systematically. Jake began to see patterns in their movements. "They're not very creative," he observed. "They search like machines, not like hunters." "Draxon are warriors," Stella explained. "Good at fighting, not so good at thinking new ways." Jake grinned. "Then we have an advantage." That evening, Jake put his plan into action. He had noticed that the Draxon ships always searched the same areas at the same times. They followed a rigid schedule. Jake used this against them. When the ships moved to search the eastern hills, Jake drove his truck to the western valleys. When they searched the valleys, he moved to the ridges. He stayed one step ahead of them, using his knowledge of the terrain and their predictable patterns. But the game of hide and seek could not last forever. On the second night, Jake made a mistake. He drove too close to one of the search areas just as a Draxon scout ship was changing course. The alien ship spotted his truck immediately. Bright searchlights flooded the area around them. Jake pressed the accelerator and drove as fast as he could on the rough mountain road. "They see us," Luna said, looking at her device. "They coming fast." Jake could see the alien ship in his rearview mirror. It was gaining quickly. Soon it would be close enough to use its weapons. That was when Luna surprised him. She had been working with some of the equipment from their crashed ship. Now she pointed a strange cylindrical device out the truck's back window. "What is that?" Jake asked. "Emergency defense weapon," Luna replied. She pressed a button and a beam of blue energy shot from the device. It hit the Draxon ship's engines. The alien ship wobbled in the air, smoke pouring from its rear. It managed to land roughly in a clearing behind them, but it was clearly disabled. "Nice shot," Jake said with admiration. "My sister, very good with weapons," Stella said proudly. But their victory was short-lived. Luna's device showed more ships coming. The other Draxon scouts had heard their companion's distress signal. "3 more coming," Luna reported. "And they very angry now." Jake drove harder, pushing his old truck to its limits on the mountain roads. Behind them, he could see the lights of approaching alien ships. His truck was fast for human standards, but it could not outrun spacecraft. "We need a better plan," Jake said. Luna was studying her device intently. "I have idea, but very dangerous." "I'm listening. Draxon ships have weakness. If we hit the right spot, whole ship goes down. But we need to get very close." "How close?" "Close enough to touch." Jake looked at the approaching alien ships, then at Luna's determined face. She was asking him to drive straight at heavily armed spacecraft with nothing but his pickup truck and her improvised weapon. "Stella," Jake asked, "what do you think?" Stella looked scared but resolute. "My sister knows ships. If Luna says it work, it work." Jake made his decision. He had helped these 2 aliens because it was the right thing to do. Now he was going to trust them with his life for the same reason. "Hold on tight," Jake said, turning his truck toward the approaching ships. "Let's show these Draxon what happens when they mess with humans." The battle for their lives was about to begin. Jake drove his truck straight toward the first Draxon ship. The alien craft was flying low, its weapons charging with an ominous red glow. Luna held her weapon steady, waiting for the right moment. "Now!" she shouted. Luna fired her blue energy beam just as Jake swerved hard to the left. The beam hit the ship's underside at exactly the right spot. The Draxon craft exploded in a ball of fire and crashed into the hillside. "One down," Jake said, but there was no time to celebrate. 2 more ships were closing in fast. Jake drove into a narrow canyon where the ships would have trouble maneuvering. The rock walls on both sides were high and steep. It was a good defensive position, but also a trap if they could not get out. The Draxon ships followed them into the canyon. They flew single file, unable to spread out because of the narrow space. Luna managed to hit the second ship, but her weapon was running out of power. The energy beam was much weaker this time. "Weapon almost empty," Luna warned. The damaged Draxon ship was still flying, but it was wobbling badly. The third ship, however, was completely undamaged and very angry. It fired its weapons at Jake's truck. Red energy bolts hit the rocks around them, sending up showers of stone and dust. One bolt hit the truck's tailgate, melting the metal instantly. Jake could feel the heat on the back of his neck. "We need help," Stella said, looking back at the pursuing ship. That was when they heard the sound of helicopters. 3 military helicopters appeared over the canyon rim. They were painted in desert camouflage and armed with rockets and machine guns. The lead helicopter had U.S. Army painted on its side. "This is Major Sarah Collins, United States Army," a voice boomed from a loudspeaker. "Unknown aircraft, you are in violation of U.S. airspace. Land immediately or we will open fire." The Draxon ships ignored the warning and fired at the helicopters. Bad mistake. The helicopters returned fire with everything they had, rockets and Machine gun bullets filled the air. The already damaged Draxon ship went down immediately, crashing into the canyon wall. The third ship tried to escape but was hit by 2 rockets and exploded spectacularly. Jake stopped his truck and got out, raising his hands to show he was not a threat. The helicopters landed in the canyon and soldiers jumped out with their weapons. Ready! Major Collins was a tall woman with short blonde hair and serious blue eyes. She wore full combat gear and carried herself like someone who had seen many battles. She approached Jake with her rifle lowered but ready. "Are you Jake Thompson?" she asked. "Yes, ma'am," Jake replied. "How did you know my name?" "We've been tracking the alien activity in this area for 2 days. Your truck registration led us to you." Major Collins looked at Luna and Stella, who were getting out of the truck slowly with their hands visible. "And these are our visitors from space, I assume." "This is Luna and Stella," Jake said. "They're refugees. The ones you just shot down were trying to kill them." Major Collins studied the 2 aliens carefully. "Refugees from what?" "A war," Stella answered in her accented English. "Bad people. Called Draxon, destroy our world. We escaped to here." "And Mr. Thompson has been helping you?" "Jake save our lives," Luna said simply. "He very good human." Major Collins looked around at the wreckage of the alien ships and the scorch marks on the rocks. "I can see that. Mr. Thompson, we need to talk, all of you." The soldiers set up a temporary command post in the canyon. Major Collins interviewed Jake, Luna, and Stella separately, then together. She was professional but not hostile. She asked many questions about the Draxon Empire and their technology. "According to our satellites, there are more alien ships in orbit," Major Collins told them. "A lot more. Whatever war you're running from, it appears to have followed you here." Luna worked with her device to decode Draxon communications. The news was not good. "Big fleet coming," Luna reported. "Draxon very angry. They want to capture us and destroy anyone who helps us." "How long do we have?" Major Collins asked. "Maybe 1 day," Stella said. "They bring many ships. Too many for you to fight." "Major." Collins was quiet for a moment, thinking. Finally, she spoke. "Maybe, but Americans don't give up easy, and we don't abandon our allies." "We not your allies," Luna said, confused. "We just refugees." "You are now," Major Collins replied firmly. "Anyone who fights against bullies and tyrants is an ally of the United States. Mr. Thompson here proved that humans and your people can work together. Now we need to prove it on a bigger scale." Over the next few hours, Major Collins coordinated with her superiors while Luna and Stella shared everything they knew about Draxon technology and tactics. Jake found himself in the strange position of being a military advisor despite having no military training. "You know more about fighting these aliens than anyone else on Earth," Major Collins explained. "Your tactics in the hills were unconventional, but effective. We need that kind of thinking." Luna was amazed by human military technology. "Your weapon's not as advanced as Draxon, but you think better. More creative." "That's what Jake said," Stella added. "Draxon fight like machines. Humans fight like hunters. Smart hunters," Major Collins corrected. "With very big guns." Jake watched the soldiers preparing their equipment and felt a mix of pride and worry. These were good people getting ready to fight an alien invasion to protect 2 refugees they had just met. It was crazy and dangerous and exactly what he would expect from his fellow humans. "Major," Jake said, "I want to help in the fight." "Mr. Thompson, you've done enough. We can take it from here." "With respect, ma'am, Luna and Stella are my responsibility. I found them, I helped them, and I'm not abandoning them now." Major Collins looked at him for a long moment. Then she smiled. "You know what, Mr. Thompson? I think we can use all the help we can get. Welcome to the team." As the sun set over the canyon, Jake realized that his simple life as a small-town mechanic was over. Tomorrow, he would be fighting alongside the U.S. Army to defend Earth from alien invaders. And somehow, that felt exactly right. The Draxan fleet arrived at dawn. Jake stood on the command hill overlooking the valley where Major Collins had set up the main defense position. Through binoculars, he could see dozens of alien ships descending from the sky like deadly silver rain. They were bigger than the scout ships, with heavier weapons and thicker armor. 43 ships, Major Collins reported through her radio. Battalion strength, maybe more. Jake was wearing borrowed military gear that did not fit quite right. He carried a rifle he barely knew how to use and wore a helmet that kept sliding down over his eyes. He felt out of place among the professional soldiers, but Luna and Stella stayed close to him. "You sure about this, Jake?" Luna asked. She had been working all night to modify human weapons with vegan technology. Her hands were shaking slightly. "I'm sure," Jake replied, though his stomach was full of butterflies. "We started this together. We'll finish it together." Stella checked the medical supplies in her pack. Major Collins had made her the team medic, after she had demonstrated her knowledge of both human and alien biology. "Jake, you know we might not survive this." "I know." Jake looked at both sisters. Over the past week, they had become more than just aliens he was helping. They felt like family. "But that's not the point. The point is doing what's right." The first wave of Draxan ships reached the valley. They came in low and fast, their weapons firing red energy bolts at the human positions. The soldiers returned fire with rockets and machine guns. The battle was loud and chaotic. Jake watched Luna work with a modified rocket launcher. She had attached one of her alien devices to it, and now the rockets glowed with blue energy instead of conventional explosives. When they hit the Draxan ships, the results were devastating. "It works!" Luna shouted over the noise of battle. "Human weapons with vegan targeting systems, very effective." But the Draxan had more ships than the humans had rockets. For every alien craft they shot down, 2 more appeared. The defense was holding, but barely. That was when disaster struck. A Draxan ship broke through the defensive line and headed straight for the command post. Major Collins ordered everyone to take cover. But Luna was still working on the weapon modifications. She did not hear the warning in time. The alien ship fired directly at Luna's position. Jake saw what was happening and threw himself forward, tackling Luna and knocking her out of the way. The energy bolt missed Luna but hit Jake in the shoulder, spinning him around and slamming him to the ground. Jake felt like his whole left side was on fire. He could not move his arm, and there was blood everywhere. Through the pain, he heard Luna screaming his name. "Jake hurt!" Stella shouted, running toward them with her medical kit. "Very bad hurt." Luna knelt beside Jake, her green eyes full of tears. "Why you do that? Why you save me?" Jake tried to smile, though it hurt to move his face. "Because that's what family does." Both sisters stared at him. "Family?" Stella asked. "You're my family now," Jake said weakly. "Both of you. I protect." "My family." Luna and Stella looked at each other, then back at Jake. Stella began working on his wound while Luna held his good hand. "In vegan culture," Luna said softly, "family is sacred bond. Cannot be broken. You say we are family?" "I do," Jake replied. "Then, we accept," Stella said, tears running down her blue cheeks. "You are our brother now, Jake Thompson, brother of Luna and Stella of Vega Prime." Major Collins appeared beside them. "How is he?" "I can fix," Stella said, applying some kind of alien healing device to Jake's shoulder. "But he need rest. No more fighting." "Like hell," Jake said, trying to sit up. "The fight's not over." "Jake, you're badly wounded," Major Collins argued. "So fix me up and get me back out there." Jake looked at Luna. "How many more weapon modifications can you make?" "Many," Luna said, "but take time, and Draxan bringing bigger ships now." Jake could see the truth in her expression. The battle was not going well. The humans were brave and clever, But the aliens had superior numbers and technology. Without something to change the odds, Earth would lose. "There is one thing," Stella said quietly, "but very dangerous." "What?" Major Collins asked. "Luna and I, we carry genetic codes of our people, information to rebuild vegan civilization. But codes also contain location of other refugee fleets scattered across galaxy." "So?" Jake asked. "If we send signal to refugee fleets, tell them Earth needs help, they might come. Vegans who escape Draxan destruction. Maybe enough to turn battle." Major Collins looked interested. "How long would that take?" "Signal travels fast," Luna explained, "but refugee fleets far away. Maybe they come in time, maybe not." "And the dangerous part?" Jake asked. "To send signal strong enough, we need to use emergency beacon," Stella said. "But beacon also tells Draxan exactly where we are. They send everything they have to stop signal." Jake understood. It was a desperate gamble. Send a call for help that might bring allies but would definitely bring more enemies. Risk everything on the chance that help would arrive before they were all destroyed. "How long do we need to hold out?" Major Collins asked. "Maybe 1 hour," Luna said. "Maybe 2. Signal must stay active whole time." Major Collins looked around at her soldiers, then at the approaching Draxan ships. 1 hour, against those odds." She was quiet for a moment. "I've had worse missions." Jake laughed, despite the pain in his shoulder. "You have?" "No," Major Collins admitted. "But there's a first time for everything." Luna began setting up the emergency beacon while Stella continued treating Jake's wound. The alien healing device was working. Jake could feel strength returning to his injured arm. "Ready," Luna announced. "But once I activate beacon, Draxan will know. They come with everything." Major Collins spoke into her radio, warning all units to prepare for a massive assault. Then she looked at Jake, Luna, and Stella. "Any last words before we try to save the world?" Jake stood up, testing his healing shoulder. It was sore but functional. "Just one thing. Luna, Stella, I'm proud to be your brother. And we proud to be your sisters," Luna replied. "Now let's show these Draxan bullies what happens when they threaten our family," Stella added. Luna activated the beacon. Immediately, alarms began sounding from the Draxan ships. The real battle was about to begin. The Draxan response was immediate and overwhelming. Every alien ship in the fleet turned toward the beacon signal. They came in waves, their weapons firing continuously. The sky filled with red energy bolts and the thunder of explosions. Jake, crouched behind a damaged Humvee with Luna and Stella, watching the human soldiers fight with desperate courage. Major Collins was everywhere at once, directing fire and moving troops to where they were needed most. But everyone could see the truth. The humans were badly outnumbered. "How long have we been transmitting?" Jake shouted over the noise. Luna checked her device. 20 minutes, but Draxan ships keep coming. Too many." A massive explosion shook the ground near them. One of the human rocket launchers had been destroyed. Jake could see soldiers running for cover as Draxan ships strafed their positions. "We're not going to make it," Stella said, her voice full of worry. That was when Jake heard something new. A different sound in the sky. Not the harsh roar of Draxan engines, but something smoother and more musical. He looked up and saw new ships appearing from the clouds. These ships were beautiful. They looked like they were made of crystal and silver, with graceful curves instead of harsh angles. They moved through the air like dancers, elegant and precise. "Vegan ships," Luna gasped. The refugees came. More ships appeared. Dozens of them, then hundreds. They were smaller than the Draxan warships, but much faster and more maneuverable. They attacked the Draxan fleet with weapons that fired beams of pure white light. "Our people," Stella said, tears of joy running down her face. "They heard our call." The battle changed instantly. Now it was the Draxan who were outnumbered. The Vegan refugee ships worked together with perfect coordination, attacking in groups and supporting each other. Their white energy beams cut through Draxan armor like it was paper. Jake watched in amazement as the tide of battle turned. The elegant alien ships danced around the clumsy Draxan vessels, striking and retreating before the enemy could respond. It was like watching a sword fight between an artist and a brute. "We need to help them," Jake said. "Tell them which ships are the most dangerous." Luna was already working on her communicator. She spoke rapidly in the Vegan language, coordinating with the refugee fleet. Stella translated for Major Collins, who began directing human fire at the targets the Vegans indicated. The combination was devastatingly effective. Human heavy weapons and vegan precision strikes worked together to destroy Draxan ships faster than Jake thought possible. Within an hour, the remaining Draxan vessels were retreating toward space. "Should we pursue them?" Major Collins asked over the radio. One of the Vegan ships landed nearby. A tall alien with silver hair and wearing robes that seemed to shimmer with their own light stepped out. Luna and Stella ran to meet him, speaking excitedly in their own language. After a few minutes, Luna returned to Jake and Major Collins. "This is Commander Orion. He leads the refugee fleet. He says let Draxan run. They will spread word that Earth is protected. Other Draxan fleets will not come here." Commander Orion approached Jake and spoke in accented but clear English. "You are the human who saved my people?" "I just helped Luna and Stella," Jake replied. "They did the rest." "No," Commander Orion said firmly. "They tell me whole story. You risk everything for strangers. You treat them as family. This is greatest gift one being can give another." Jake felt embarrassed by the praise. "I just did what anyone would do." "Not anyone," Commander Orion corrected. "Only the best people. Only people with strong hearts and brave spirits." He paused. "My people have no home now. Vega Prime is gone. We are wanderers in space." "I'm sorry," Jake said. "Do not be sorry. Be proud. Because today, Earth becomes our new home, if you will have us." Major Collins stepped forward. "I'll need to talk to my government, but I think we can work something out. The universe seems like a dangerous place. Earth could use friends like you." Commander Orion smiled. "And we could use friends like humans, brave and loyal and willing to fight for what is right." Over the next few weeks, Jake's life changed completely. The Vegan refugees established a colony in the hills near Cedar Falls. They shared their advanced technology with humans while learning about Earth culture. Jake found himself serving as an unofficial ambassador between the two species. Luna became the chief engineer for the new colony, working with human scientists to develop new technologies. Stella opened a medical clinic that treated both humans and vegans. Both sisters lived part-time at Jake's ranch house, which had been expanded to accommodate alien guests. Jake still ran his auto repair shop, but now he also fixed vegan vehicles and equipment. It turned out that being a good mechanic was a universal skill. He was probably the only human who could tune up a crystal-powered flying car. 3 months after the battle, Jake was having dinner with Luna and Stella at Billy's barbecue pit. The restaurant had become famous as the place where the first human-alien contact had begun. Billy had even added galactic brisket to his menu. "You know," Jake said, cutting into his steak, "I never did get to finish that first meal I came here for." "You got something better," Luna pointed out. "You got family." Stella raised her glass of sweet tea. "To Jake Thompson, best brother in 2 galaxies." Jake smiled and raised his own glass. "To Luna and Stella, best sisters a guy could ask for." As they ate, Jake thought about how much his life had changed. 6 months ago, he had been a simple mechanic in a small Texas town. Now he was helping to build the first interstellar alliance in human history, and it had all started because he went out for barbecue and decided to help 2 strangers in need. "What are you thinking about?" Stella asked. "Just wondering what would have happened if I hadn't been curious about that crash," Jake replied. "But you were curious," Luna said, "because you are human, and humans always want to help. That is why Earth will be good home for our people, Jake nodded. And that's why vegans will be good neighbors for humans. Because you're willing to fight to protect the people you care about. Major Collins, who had been promoted to colonel after the battle, stopped by their table. Mind if I join you? Always room for family, Jake said, gesturing to an empty chair. Family? Sarah asked, sitting down. Anyone who fights beside us is family, Stella explained, old vegan saying. I like that, Sarah said. Speaking of which, I have news. The president wants to establish a joint human-vegan space program. Guess who they want to head up the mechanical engineering division? Jake nearly choked on his brisket. Me? You're the most experienced human-alien technology specialist on the planet, Sarah pointed out. Congratulations, Jake. You're going to help us reach the stars. Jake looked around the table at his alien sisters and his human friends. 6. Months ago, his biggest dream had been to afford a new truck. Now he was going to help humanity explore the galaxy. Sometimes the best adventures began with the simplest decisions, like deciding to help someone in need, like treating strangers as family, like believing that people, no matter where they came from, were worth fighting for. Jake Thompson had gone out for a roast and come back with something infinitely more valuable. He had come back with hope for the future and proof that the universe was full of friends waiting to be made. So, he said, grinning at his unusual family, "Anyone want dessert?" The answer, as always, was yes.